Parliament's Defence Portfolio Committee is in Gauteng today to assess the aftermath of the recent riots and looting. Members are expected to visit destroyed malls and troop camps across the province. eNCA reporter Manqoba Mchunu is following them. He's joining us now live from Manqoba Mall in Soweto. Good afternoon, Manqoba. What's the latest? What can you tell us about this visit?
Well, but then I can tell you that we have been on a walkabout with the two portfolio committees. That firstly is the Joint Standing Committee on Defence, as well as the Police Portfolio Committee, who have been basically on a site visit at the various malls that have been hard hit by the looting and vandalism that took here in Gauteng. So we have visited several malls. We began by visiting firstly the Jabulani Mall and the Ndofaya Mall here in Soweto, that were also affected last week. And of course the members seeing for themselves the extent of the damage, but more than anything, importantly, also assessing just the effectiveness of the police and the army operations that have been deployed, and the cooperation that exists between the two arms of government. But to speak further on this, I'm now joined by the House Chairperson for Committees in the National Assembly, Mr. Cedric Frederick. Thank you for your time, sir. Let's start here. You've been on the ground. You've gone to the various malls to assess not only here but also in KwaZulu-Natal, just to see the extent of the damage and whether or not there is enough deployment. What's your take on the situation right now?
Well, we've seen the destruction and absolute mayhem that has been caused by the looting and also the attack on certain businesses. The malls especially is something that we did not prepare ourselves for. The malls that used to be vibrant centers in the community has now basically become ghost towns. We've seen the despair of shop owners and also workers who are now worried about losing their jobs. But we've also witnessed the resolve of the South African people to rebuild and to ensure that the malls are being cleaned and that the malls are being protected so that life can, as far as possible, return to normal. As far as the situation on the ground, here at the Manqoba Mall, we can see a big deployment of the police and the South African National Defence Force. The situation outside, in the briefings that we've received, seems to be still a bit tense. But we've made a call on the police and the South African National Defence Force to be on alert and to deal with any situation that may arise and to use the necessary resources to crush whatever attempt there may be to attack further malls.
In terms of the deployment itself, are you happy currently with the soldiers, the deployment of the soldiers? How do you think that is faring so far?
Well, the deployment of the soldiers and the police here where we are at the Manqoba Mall, it's a very good deployment. They are ably assisted also by private security, but also members of the community who are safeguarding this mall. There's a long history to this mall in Soweto, and we cannot afford a situation where the last bastion, the last shopping mall that is still standing, also comes under attack. So the South African Police Services and the South African National Defence Force must be commended for the deployment of the personnel here.
Do you think that perhaps the army and the police, should have, or the army itself, should have been deployed much earlier than now, given the damage that you've seen on the ground?
Well, we get different reports. And we know also that the army has a very specific role to play, and that is supporting the police. But what we have noticed is that when the initial looting started taking place, the police was short of human resources. And since the looting did not only start at one specific point, it was very well organized across, in this instance in Soweto, it was very, very difficult for the police to withstand the crowds that was approaching them. We are looking at the different reports that we will be receiving from the Portfolio Committee on Police, the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence, and the Joint Standing on Defence, to look at where certain loopholes, where certain gaps were, and also what needs to be done to improve in future situations.
In terms of accountability, of course, the police ministry has come under fire for the way that they've handled this particular unrest. Will there be any accountability in terms of the ministries themselves on this particular issue?
Well, there's various versions that are rising in terms of what the police should have done, could have done, how soon the army could have been deployed, and so forth. We don't want to add to that speculation and other theories that are out there. What is becoming evidently clear is that a parliamentary inquiry conducted by both houses jointly into the occurrences of the last week will have to be seriously considered. I've spoken to the relevant chairpersons of the committees, and they will consider it in their recommendations to the Speaker and also to the two houses. This inquiry is important so that we do not have repeat of the lapses that may have occurred and a whole variety of other issues that could have contributed to this. So from my point of view, I will strongly support the report from the committees that call for a full parliamentary inquiry into the events of the last week.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. That was the national, the House chairperson of committees in the National Assembly, speaking to us, saying that from what they've seen so far is sheer destruction. And of course, they're saying that they will be calling for more accountability when it comes to this issue. In fact, saying that they will even be supporting calls for that parliamentary inquiry to look specifically into this unrest that had taken place here in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal.
Thank you very much, Manqoba Mchunu, the Maponya Mall in Soweto. Now,